What's up everyone? Today we'll be discussing Mad God, a stop-motion visual spectacle 30 years in the making from the legendary Phil Tippett. Hands down, this is one of the most unique and bizarre movies I've ever talked about on this channel. Since Mad God just began streaming on Shudder, and it only had a limited theatrical release, I'm guessing many of you may not have checked this out just yet, so this review will be very light on spoilers, but keep in mind this isn't your typical movie anyway. Spoilers aren't necessarily an issue. Now, where to begin with this one? I guess I'll start with the basics, then we'll forge ahead and dive into this murky pool of insanity. First off, let's talk about Phil Tippett. Tippett is an Oscar and Emmy award-winning pioneer of special effects. If you're wondering where you've seen his handcrafted work before, look no further than the Star Wars movies. Tippett worked on the holochess scene on the Falcon, the Tauntauns, the Imperial Walkers, and a slew of creatures from Return of the Jedi. He also worked on Dragon Slayer, Jurassic Park, and Starship Troopers. Now, my first glimpse of the darker side of Phil Tippett's stop-motion efforts was the original RoboCop. Tippett designed and animated the infamous
Ed 209.
This fully armed mechanical monster freaked me the hell out when I was a kid. Everything from the way the stop-motion puppet moved to its eerie voice was just unsettling. And of course, there's the fact that it was a malfunctioning murder machine. Little did I know, that was just an appetizer. Decades later, Phil Tippett served up Mad God, a passion project if there ever was one. Tippett wrote, produced, and animated this movie over the course of 30 years. To say Mad God is a labor of love is an understatement. So, what's Mad God about? Well, in truth, this is a movie you really have to see for yourself to wrap your head around. However, a general description would be that Mad God is about a mysterious individual known as the Assassin. We follow along with this masked figure who often refers to a tattered map during his travels. The Assassin descends into a seemingly endless world that's been decimated by war. This is a world filled with twisted and ravaged landscapes, and it's populated with hellish mutants, tortured monsters, and bizarre creatures of all sizes and shapes. Not sure if you want to eat while you're watching this one. Mad God has been described by many as Phil Tippett's crowning achievement, and I agree with that assessment. Mad God is insanely creative and inventive as ever. Every single frame of this movie is basically a macabre work of art. Mad God encapsulates everything in Tippett's creative bag of tricks, which makes sense, it's his life's work, fully realized and placed on a stage for all the world to see. For me, this movie was more like an experience, something along the lines of 2001: A Space Odyssey. We even get a series of mysterious monoliths, although here they're a lot less majestic. There's also elements of Dante's Inferno, accompanied by visuals that range from brilliant to downright revolting. For the most part, we're on our own to interpret this mind-bending journey as best we can. There's really no dialogue, and this isn't a traditional narrative in any way. As our lead makes his descent through this mesmerizing landscape, we go along for the ride. The assassin travels deeper and deeper into the bowels of this hellish nightmare. Each new level he encounters is increasingly disturbing, and that's one aspect I found interesting. Tippett doesn't plunge us directly into the nightmare fuel right from the beginning. He takes his time, and when we get there, you'll know it. On that note, I should mention there's imagery in Mad God that is definitely not for the faint of heart. This movie is bleak, and at times it's very disturbing. Tippett doesn't pull any punches, but I think the fact that the visuals are highly stylized and artistic makes all the difference. As far as the environments go, there's a ton of variety here. Some of this feels like a distorted nuclear wasteland inhabited by the remnants of a battered civilization. Other times it feels like an oddly functional industrial nightmare, filled with faceless drones just slaving away. There's a lot here to process and piece together, and maybe that's the point. We're meant to reflect on the journey of the assassin. The sights he beholds and the horrific imagery throughout can be interpreted in different ways. The massive effort that went into crafting this dark journey does indicate there's meaning to it all. I mentioned earlier that Mad God took 30 years to complete. That alone should serve as inspiration to anyone who still has their own passion project in mind. Tippett began working on this as far back as the late 1980s, after making RoboCop 2. He did think about abandoning it after Jurassic Park. Tippett felt the world of CGI made stop motion a relic of the past. And at some level, Tippett was right. CGI has become the standard when it comes to special effects in the last few decades, but in my mind, CGI hasn't surpassed practical effects just yet. It's just another artistic tool, and I'm a fan of CGI as well, but there's nothing like some good old-fashioned stop motion. In any case, Tippett did eventually return to his passion project, thanks to the funding of Kickstarter donations and the help of volunteer student animators who were inspired by his work on Star Wars and RoboCop. The film was completed, and here we are. Now, to be clear, Mad God is not for everyone, and I'll stress that point. This is definitely an adult animation, and opinions on it will likely be pretty divided. That said, in my view, it's well worth a watch. I'd rate Mad God 5 out of 5 Phil Tippett-induced fever dreams. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I appreciate it. Until next time, be well, stay safe, and take care. Later.